Okay guys, I want to talk about nitrogen and what are your different options for filling your shock with nitrogen. So the bare minimum you're going to need a tank and a regulator. You don't need a real fancy regulator, but you don't want to buy a too cheap of one that's going to break either. So tank and regulator is $200 or $250. These hoses, you'll need a hose. The hoses do come with the shock bleeder kits, so if you purchase a shock bleeder kit, you're going to have a hose that you can use for your nitrogen also. So let's look at the different options. First option, this is a KTM shock that's been fitted with a Racetech bladder kit. There's the bladder. The bladder goes in. So this bladder, once you actually put the bladder in to service the shock. So this bladder is here. The purpose of the bladder is to separate the nitrogen from the oil in the shock. So you would put your bladder in, and then it's got a little C-clip that goes in there to keep it in place. Once you've bled your shock, filled it with oil, got all the air out, you go ahead and use one of these. You can use anything. It's got a Schrader valve on it. You just need to hook your nitrogen tank up. This is a Racetech tool that has a Schrader valve on it. It's got a gauge, got an on-off valve on it. These are really nice. This is what I use. If you don't want to buy, these are about $125. This thing will go on. You can screw that in and screw it out and not lose any of the nitrogen when you're doing this. If you don't want to go for one of these, you want to keep it cheap, you can even use a $15 tire tool to do it. Okay, that's the first option, a bladder. Those are really nice. There's not much downside to the bladder. They're about $125 and they've got the Schrader valve. So this is a stock reservoir. This is a stock KTM reservoir. What these don't have a bladder, these have a piston in them. This is just a piece of plastic that has an O-ring on it, and this goes in here, sits right about there, and when that shock shaft moves in and out, the oil displaces this piston and it goes up and down like that. Now these are really nice. The only downside is you need a special tool to charge it. So this is the Racetech tool to do that. This thing clamps on. This tool clamps on to the bottom of the shock, and then it's got a Schrader valve. And you charge it. This tool is about $250. And then you would use this tool in conjunction with that other tool to fill up your nitrogen. You clamp it on, screw it down, and then you can use this guy to take the stock bolt out while it's clamped on to keep the seal, and then once you've charged it up, you close that bolt up, take it off, it's done. This is really nice, but it's not cheap. The other option is this is another stock WP reservoir. This one's been drilled out and tapped with a Fox Racing Schrader valve. These are about 15 bucks. They work perfect. They fit in there perfect. The only problem is you got to take this reservoir all the way off, drill it, tap it, clean it out, put it back on. These are a major pain to get off of the shock. You got to heat it. They take a lot of heat. You got to have the right spanner tool to get it off. Once it's off though, this is pretty easy to drill and tap. If you've got a drill press, this has got an O-ring on it, seals up real nice. This is a great option. I like it, but it is a pain to get that off. The other option, probably the cheapest and easiest option, is these Racetech bolts that have a rubber in them. This, you just take out the stock bolt and replace it with this, and then you get one of these needle setups. This is another Racetech tool, and you poke that and the needle goes right through that bolt, and you can use this thing in conjunction with this tool to charge up your shock. These are really great. If you just want to start out, you can upgrade later to one of these other options, but this is probably the cheapest and easiest. I highly recommend these. So that's all you need to know about charging your nitrogen. Thanks for watching.